Hello everyone, and welcome to Shdows Secrit. Tonight, we journey deep into the misty heart of Ireland's haunted coast, where shadows stretch across the rugged landscape and whispers of the past cling to every stone. Our story takes us to one of the most infamous haunted mansions in the world, a place where history, legend, and the supernatural collide. This is the chilling tale of Loftus Hall, the cursed estate said to be home not only to restless spirits, but to the devil himself. Loftus Hall stands on the windswept Hook Peninsula in County Wexford, Ireland. Overlooking the cold waters of the Irish Sea, the mansion is shrouded in layers of both grandeur and decay. It is a house of many lives, built, rebuilt, and haunted through centuries of turmoil. Even before it became Loftus Hall, the land bore scars of battles and restless souls. This cursed ground has drawn darkness to it for hundreds of years, but the legend that made it infamous begins in the 17th century. The origins of the house trace back to the Redmond family in the 1300s, who first built a grand hall on the site. Their ancestral home would later fall into the hands of the Loftus family during the Cromwellian conquest of Ireland. With power, wealth, and influence, the Loftus family reconstructed the hall into a majestic estate, but beneath the elegance lingered a dark curse. Locals whispered that the land had been soaked with blood during invasions, and that no family who lived there would ever find peace. The most terrifying chapter of Loftus Hall's history begins with a storm. It is said that one dark and stormy night in the late 1600s, as thunder cracked across the sky and waves battered the shore, a ship appeared out of the mist. The vessel, unknown and battered by the storm, anchored near the Hook Peninsula. From it emerged a mysterious stranger. Dressed finely, with striking features, he made his way to Loftus Hall, where he sought shelter from the storm. The Tottenham family, who were residing in Loftus Hall at the time, welcomed him in. Among them was Lady Anne Tottenham, a young woman who became fascinated with the mysterious visitor. He was elegant, charming, and seemed to hold an unearthly presence. Over the following nights, the family entertained him with games, music, and conversation. But it was during one of these evenings that the dark truth was revealed. The family sat together playing cards. Anne, seated across from the stranger, noticed that she had dropped a card onto the floor. When she bent down to retrieve it, her eyes fell upon something so horrifying that it would never be forgotten. The stranger's feet, once hidden beneath the table, were not human at all. They were cloven hooves. In that instant, Anne screamed in terror. The stranger, realizing his true nature had been discovered, erupted with fury. Accounts vary. Some say he vanished in a burst of fire and smoke, leaving behind the stench of brimstone. Others claim he shot through the roof of Loftus Hall, leaving a gaping hole in the ceiling. Whatever the details, the story is the same. The visitor was no mere man. He was the devil. The aftermath of that night was catastrophic for Lady Anne. Traumatized and shunned, she descended into madness. Her once beautiful spirit crumbled under the weight of what she had seen. The family, unable to cope with her condition, confined her to a hidden room in the mansion. There she lived out her remaining days, alone and tormented, staring out through a tiny window across the stormy sea. Some say her cries echoed through the hallways. Others believe she still waits, her restless spirit bound to the house forever. Anne eventually died in Loftus Hall, but her presence never left. From that day onward, strange occurrences plagued the mansion. Visitors reported ghostly apparitions, phantom footsteps, doors slamming shut on their own, and cold spots in rooms where Anne once wandered. The most terrifying encounters, however, came from those who claimed to have seen Anne's ghostly figure. Sometimes a pale woman gazing out of the window, other times a shadowy form drifting through the halls. The devil's mark too seemed to linger. Priests and exorcists were summoned to Loftus Hall to rid it of evil, but despite their efforts, the haunting continued. The church itself is said to have turned its back on the house, refusing to bless it again after repeated failures to cleanse the dark presence within its walls. To this day, Loftus Hall is often referred to as the Devil's home in Ireland. Over centuries, Loftus Hall changed hands many times. Families moved in, only to be driven away by unexplained phenomena. Servants refused to work within its walls after witnessing apparitions. Visitors described overwhelming feelings of dread as soon as they crossed its threshold. Some even claimed to have seen the devil himself, wandering the corridors or watching from the shadows. The estate itself seemed cursed. Storms battered its exterior, fires broke out within its halls, and its fortunes declined again and again. Loftus Hall was renovated in the 1800s into a grander mansion, but the haunting only intensified. No matter how many times the walls were rebuilt, the ghosts remained. Modern times brought renewed interest in the hall. Paranormal investigators, thrill seekers, and tourists flocked to the site, each hoping to encounter something from beyond. They were rarely disappointed. Ghost hunters recorded unexplained voices, sudden drops in temperature, and shadowy figures captured in photographs. Some investigators reported being touched, scratched, or even shoved by unseen forces. One of the most chilling modern encounters took place during a ghost tour in the early 2000s. A group of visitors gathered in the grand staircase of Loftus Hall, listening to their guide describe the story of Anne Tottenham. Suddenly, a loud, heavy thud echoed through the room, though no one could find the source. At that moment, several people reported feeling an oppressive weight in the air, as though someone or something was standing right behind them. When the group fled the staircase, one man discovered 3 deep scratches across his back, though no one had touched him. CCTV footage from the hall has also captured strange anomalies: doors opening on their own, unexplained orbs of light, and shadowy figures moving in the background. Even seasoned investigators who came in as skeptics often left with shaken beliefs. What makes Loftus Hall so terrifying is not just the ghost of Anne Tottenham, but the lingering sense that something far darker resides within its walls. Was the mysterious stranger truly the devil? Did his presence curse the hall forever? Or did centuries of bloodshed, conquest, and suffering leave behind a spiritual scar so deep that the mansion can never be at peace? The truth may never be known, but one thing is certain: Loftus Hall has earned its place as Ireland's most haunted house. Its walls hold not only the echoes of history, but the whispers of the damned. Even now, as the mansion stands in eerie silence, those who dare to enter speak of an atmosphere so heavy, so oppressive, that it feels alive. Imagine walking through its decaying corridors, the wallpaper peeling, the smell of damp air and dust, the sound of the wind howling through broken windows. Every step echoes, as though someone unseen is following just behind you. You pass the staircase where Anne once walked, and for a moment you catch movement in the corner of your eye. A shadow glides silently across the hall, though no one else is there. You hear a whisper, faint, almost like your name. And then, a slam. A door closes somewhere in the distance, though the house was silent only moments before. Visitors have described Loftus Hall not as simply haunted, but as consumed. It is a place where fear itself seems to have taken root, where time does not heal wounds but preserves them, replaying them endlessly. To step inside is to step into history's darkest nightmare. Today, Loftus Hall sits abandoned once again. Tourists can visit, but few are brave enough to wander alone. The stories of Anne, the devil, and the countless ghostly encounters linger on, carried by every visitor who dares to tell what they've seen and felt. And so the legend of Loftus Hall endures, not just as a ghost story, but as a warning. Some places are not meant to be disturbed. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed, and some visitors are not what they seem. This has been the story of Loftus Hall, the devil's home in Ireland, a place where shadows walk and the past refuses to die. Thank you for watching 𝑰𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒏. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more terrifying stories from the shadows.